Welcome back, everyone. If you are into unpacking the actual mechanics of human connection, you are in for an absolute treat today. We're doing things a bit differently. I'm actually tossing our usual agenda right out the window because, honestly, I just want to preserve the sheer narrative tension of the story we're about to dive into. It's this powerful, beautifully self-contained fable called The Weight of the Bridge. And through it, we're going to extract some seriously profound lessons about what it takes to actually build unity in a fractured world. I am so pumped to walk you through this.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Our story kicks off in a deeply divided village, and right out of the gate, a crisis hits. The old man who owned the ferry, literally the only way to cross the local river, suddenly dies. So what happens? The village elder immediately calls up a local carpenter named Elias, but check out what the elder demands in this quote. He says, "Build a wall along the bank. Now that the ferry is gone, let's be finished with them for good." The elder doesn't see the loss of the ferry as a tragedy, right? He sees it as an opportunity, a chance to enforce permanent separation. He literally wants to wall off the other side of the river. Section 1. An inherited feud.
To really get why the elder wants this giant wall, we've got to look at the village's vibe. It's not just physically split by a river, it's emotionally torn apart by this bitter rivalry. And this brings us to a concept pulled right out of our source material, the inherited feud. Specifically, a feud inherited like a surname. I mean, think about that for a second. When you get a surname, you don't earn it, you don't ask for it. It's just handed to you at birth, and boom, it becomes part of who you are. The source tells us that literally nobody in the village even remembered why they were fighting anymore. The original cause? Totally forgotten. They were just blindly carrying this animosity generation after generation, simply because it was the name they were born into.
Section 2. The wall versus the bridge.
So this inherited feud sets the stage for Elias's massive task. For 6 straight days, from sunrise to dusk, the carpenter is out there laboring in total secret. Nobody knows what this structure looks like while it's going up. They just know he's working tirelessly on this momentous job for the village. Then we hit day 7. The whole village gathers at the riverbank, totally expecting to see this towering wall that's going to finally block out their enemies forever. But instead, a massive plot twist. Elias didn't build a wall at all. He built a bridge. The source notes the village elder is, well, he is absolutely furious. He glares at Elias and says, "I asked for a wall. You built a way for our enemies to walk right into our homes." The elder is terrified, because a bridge implies vulnerability. It implies contact.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of our explainer today. We've got this stark contrast. On one hand, there's the elder's request, a wall. And a wall represents permanence, isolation, and just being entirely changed to the grievances of the past. But on the other hand, we have Elias's choice, a bridge. A bridge is all about connection, vulnerability, and actually looking toward the future. Elias was handed a rigid, binary choice by his society's leadership, and he just entirely rejected the premise.
Section 3. Elias's perspective on unity.
This brings us to the absolute thematic core of the story. Why did a simple carpenter decide to straight up disobey a direct order from the village elder and risk the wrath of his entire community? Well, the answer is captured so perfectly in Elias's own words. After setting down his hammer and facing this furious elder, Elias delivers this profound realization. He says, "I've spent my whole life building whatever I was told to build, and I never once asked what it would cost the next generation. You didn't ask me to end the feud, you asked me to make it permanent. I decided to build something else instead." Wow. Elias recognized that building a wall wouldn't just enforce the feud today, it would literally cement it in stone for kids who hadn't even been born yet.
So, the crucial point is, what does Elias's perspective actually teach us about unity? First off, unity sometimes requires rejecting blind obedience to authority, especially when that authority is asking you to build walls. Second, unity isn't just some passive, warm and fuzzy feeling of peace. It is an active, deliberate defiance of inherited hatred. And finally, true unity prioritizes the well-being of the next generation way over the deeply held yet completely forgotten grievances of the past. Basically, Elias made a conscious choice to stop blindly passing down the village's trauma.
Section 4. The generational legacy.
But here's the thing. Elias's choice wasn't just a philosophical flex. It had real, compounding, and immediate impacts. The very evening the bridge is revealed, we see the first ripple effect. An old woman from the other side of the river crosses the bridge alone. The source tells us she's super hesitant, fully expecting to be turned away by these so-called enemies. But instead, she is met halfway by Elias's own daughter, and what does the daughter do? She just offers the old woman some bread.
The text explicitly points out that neither the old woman nor the daughter even knew the history of the feud. They didn't know the surname of the hatred. They only knew they were hungry, and the bridge was there. When you remove the barriers, natural human empathy just kind of takes over.
Let's move to and see how this builds across our timeline. We start with 6 days of secret, tireless labor. Then, boom, day 7 brings the radical reveal of the bridge. That very evening, we get this immediate human connection with the shared bread. But the impact definitely doesn't stop there. As we fast forward down the timeline to years later, we see how a physical structure built for unity ends up saving the exact people who opposed it in the first place.
The story gives us this incredibly powerful payoff. The village elder, the very guy who originally demanded a wall, the man who was so furious about the bridge, the man who never once thanked Elias for his work, well, he finds himself in a really desperate situation years later. His grandson falls gravely ill. And wouldn't you know it, the only doctor available is on the other side of the river. So how does he get there? It is Elias's bridge that the elder crosses at midnight, carrying his sick grandson in his arms. The bridge he wanted to prevent ended up being the exact, literal path required to save his own family's future.
It's just a remarkable testament to Elias's foresight. He didn't build for the anger of his present day, he built for the unseen necessities of tomorrow. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought to take away from today's explainer. I want you to look at the structures, the habits, and the conversations you are creating in your own life right now and ask yourself, are you just building what you were told, passing down an inherited feud like a surname, or are you actively building what the next generation needs? Thanks so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.